What is the Chinese room argument? What are its philosophical implications?
The Chinese room argument is a thought experiment and argument presented by philosopher John Searle to challenge the notion of strong AI, the idea that a computer program could ever truly understand and have cognitive states equivalent to a human mind. The argument is part of the philosophy of mind and cognitive science discussions about artificial intelligence, AI, and consciousness. The Chinese room thought experiment. Imagine a room in which an English-speaking person who doesn't understand Chinese is sitting. The room has a slot through which people outside the room can pass Chinese characters. The person inside the room has a rule book in English that instructs them on how to respond to a sequence of Chinese characters with another sequence of Chinese characters. When they receive a string of Chinese characters, they use the rules to look up what the appropriate response is and then pass the Chinese characters back out through the slot. To the people outside, it appears as though the person in the room understands Chinese. They are receiving appropriate responses to their inputs. However, the person inside the room does not actually understand the language. They are merely manipulating symbols based on formal rules. They have syntactical knowledge, but not semantic understanding. Philosophical implications 1. Limits of computational theories of mind. The Chinese room argument criticizes computational theories of mind, which posit that cognitive functions can be understood as computational processes. Searle argues that computation alone doesn't lead to understanding or consciousness. This challenges cognitive science and AI research that suggests computational models can fully explain human intelligence. 2. Syntax versus semantics. Searle's argument hinges on the distinction between syntax, the rules governing the manipulation of symbols, and semantics, the meaning of those symbols. He argues that while computers can process syntax, they do not inherently ascribe meaning to the symbols they process. Therefore, he asserts that computers cannot truly understand the content they are processing. Qualia and consciousness. The argument raises questions about the subjective quality of experience, qualia, and consciousness. Searle suggests that a program can behave as though it understands language without actually having the subjective experience or consciousness that accompanies language understanding in humans. Number 4. Critique of the Turing test. The Chinese room is also seen as a critique of the Turing test, a test proposed by Alan Turing to assess a machine's ability to exhibit intelligent behavior indistinguishable from that of a human. Searle's argument suggests that even if a machine can pass the Turing test and imitate human responses, it does not mean the machine truly understands. It might just be following formal rules without any awareness or comprehension. 5. Strong AI versus weak AI. The argument differentiates between strong AI, the idea that a machine can have a mind, consciousness, and understanding equivalent to a human, and weak AI, which suggests that machines can only simulate human cognitive functions without actual understanding. Searle contends that while weak AI is a valuable tool for research, strong AI claims are unfounded. The Chinese room argument has been both influential and highly controversial, with many counter-arguments and discussions. It has served as a springboard for various debates about the nature of mind, the possibility of artificial consciousness, and the relationship between human cognition and artificial computation.
How have proponents of strong AI responded to John Searle's Chinese room argument?
Proponents of strong AI have offered a variety of responses to John Searle's Chinese room argument. Some of the main counter-arguments include: 1. Systems reply. This argument concedes that while the person in the room doesn't understand Chinese, the system as a whole, the person plus the rulebook and room, could be said to understand it. Searle counters this by arguing that if he were to internalize all the rules and data, he would still not understand Chinese, even though he becomes the entire system. 2. Robot reply. Others suggest that embedding the room in a robot that interacts with the world could result in understanding. By gaining a perceptual apparatus and the ability to act within the world, the AI would have a context for its symbol manipulation, potentially leading to genuine understanding. Brain simulator reply. Another response is that a simulation of the entire workings of the human brain, if sufficiently detailed and accurate, would necessarily include consciousness and understanding because it would function in the same way as an actual brain. 4. Connectionist reply. Proponents of connectionist AI neural networks argue that the Chinese room thought experiment relies on an outdated understanding of AI as symbol manipulation. Modern AI systems like neural networks learn from experience and develop a web of associations that might lead to a form of understanding that is not based on explicit rule following. 5. Many mansions reply. Some argue that Cyril wrongly assumes AI must mimic human cognition to achieve understanding. They suggest that there might be many different ways to achieve understanding, and AI might develop a genuinely different but valid form of cognition and semantics. 6. Intentionality reply. Proponents of this reply claim that once an AI system's behavior becomes indistinguishable from human behavior, there's no meaningful difference between them regarding intentionality, that is, aboutness or meaning. Cyril argues, however, that intentionality in humans is a biological product of the brain and is not something that can be replicated through computational means alone. 7. Semantic grounding reply. This line of reasoning argues against Cyril's claim that computers can only manipulate symbols syntactically without understanding. By grounding symbols in perception and actions in the world, AI systems could associate symbols with meaning, which could be a step towards semantic understanding. Number 8. Learning systems reply. It's been suggested that if the system could learn from experiences and adjust its responses accordingly, it would demonstrate a form of understanding, as learning is a key component of human cognition. Cyril's Chinese room argument continues to be a focal point for debates in cognitive science, AI, and philosophy of mind, with ongoing discussions about the nature of understanding and consciousness in machines.
Can machines or AI systems develop intentionality and consciousness, and what would be the criteria to determine if they have achieved such states?
The question of whether machines or AI systems can develop intentionality and consciousness, and how we would determine if they have achieved these states, is a deeply complex and philosophical one, and there is no consensus in the scientific and philosophical communities. Nonetheless, here are some perspectives and criteria that have been discussed. 1. Behavioral indistinguishability, also known as the Turing test. This criterion posits that if a machine's behavior is indistinguishable from a human's, then it should be treated as if it has intentionality and consciousness. Critics argue that behavior alone isn't enough to prove internal states like consciousness. Number 2. Neurological correlates. Some argue that consciousness arises from specific kinds of neurological processes, so a machine would need to replicate these processes or have a functional equivalent in order to be conscious. The problem lies in defining what these neurological correlates are and how we might recognize them in a machine. 3. Phenomenal states, qualia. Another approach focuses on subjective experience or qualia, the what it feels like aspect of mind. To establish if a machine has consciousness, one would need to determine if it has its own internal experiences. This is difficult as it is fundamentally subjective and inaccessible to external observation. 4. Integrated Information Theory, IIT. IIT suggests that consciousness corresponds to the capacity of a system to integrate information in a unified whole. This provides a potentially measurable way to assess the consciousness of different systems, whether biological or artificial. 5. Functionalism. This theory posits that mental states are constituted by their functional role, not by their internal makeup. If a machine performs the same functions as a conscious being, reacting to stimuli, self-reporting introspective awareness, showing adaptability, then it might be considered to have intentionality and consciousness. Number 6. Emergent properties. Some scientists and philosophers believe that consciousness is an emergent property, a complex result of simpler interactions. By this criterion, consciousness in machines could theoretically emerge from complex computational processes. 7. Sentience tests. Various tests have been proposed to check for machine sentience, such as the machine's ability to demonstrate understanding of self-awareness, empathy, or suffering. 8. Ethical and philosophical argumentation. Here the criterion may rely more on argumentation, where a machine demonstrates not only advanced cognitive capacities but also engages in sophisticated philosophical thought and ethical reasoning, which might suggest a level of intentionality akin to human consciousness. 9. Chinese room argument counterpoints. The Chinese room itself is used as a criterion for some. If a machine can address Searle's concerns regarding semantics versus syntax, it may be said to have achieved understanding or intentionality. It's important to note that intentionality and consciousness are still not fully understood even in humans, and there are no universally accepted scientific definitions or criteria for these states. Any criteria we establish for machines would therefore be provisional and based on our best current understanding. The ongoing advances in AI, cognitive neuroscience, and philosophy continue to shape and inform this debate.
What advancements in cognitive neuroscience and artificial intelligence research are currently influencing the understanding and criteria of consciousness and intentionality in machines?
Advancements in cognitive neuroscience and artificial intelligence are constantly contributing to the evolving understanding of consciousness and intentionality, which in turn inform criteria and approaches to these phenomena in machines. Some of these advancements include neural correlates of consciousness. Cognitive neuroscience has identified specific brain regions and networks associated with consciousness, such as the default mode network. These findings influence how AI researchers might attempt to mimic or replicate consciousness. 2. Brain-computer interfaces and neuroprosthetics. Technologies that merge neural activity with computational devices provide insights into how information processing in biological brains can integrate with artificial systems, potentially offering mechanisms for creating machines with more human-like cognitive processes. 3. Advancements in machine learning. Particularly deep learning have led to AI systems that can perform tasks previously thought to require a level of intentionality, such as image and speech recognition, strategic game playing, and natural language processing. 4. Integrated Information Theory, IIT. Advancements in the application of IIT to both biological and artificial systems provide a quantifiable approach to assessing the consciousness of a system, which could be applied to advanced AI systems. 5. Emergence theory, the ongoing study of complex systems and how high-level properties emerge from simple interactions could inform how we think about emergent properties like consciousness in AI systems. 6. Computational models of brain functions. Simulations and computational models of how the human brain processes information are becoming increasingly accurate, allowing for the possibility of replicating these processes in machines. 7. Embodied cognition. Advances in robotics and the understanding of embodied cognition, which emphasizes the role of an agent's body in shaping the mind, influence how AI systems might develop more human-like cognition and intentionality through interaction with the physical world. 8. Philosophical investigations. Philosophical dialogue and argumentation continue to refine what it means for a machine to have intentionality or consciousness, and how such features could be instantiated in an artificial substrate. 9. Ethical AI. Alongside technical developments, there's an increasing focus on the ethical implications of AI systems that might have consciousness or intentionality, influencing the safeguards and design principles for advanced AI. These advancements contribute to an ever more nuanced picture of what consciousness and intentionality entail, and they provide new avenues for developing AI systems that might one day exhibit these complex states. However, it is important to note that despite these advancements, there is still no definitive answer or consensus on if or how machines could achieve consciousness and intentionality equivalent to that of humans.